You're ready to go, you said?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm also ready to go. Welcome to the Glacier Gamble Podcast. Today we're talking about The Boys, episode 1 through 3, as well as Arcane. We like both. We are all about nerddom and fandom here. And I'm excited to talk about both. Arcane Season 1 was able to bring in people that don't even play League of Legends, and The Boys is one of the most viral, biggest, most people think it's the greatest superhero anything that's ever been made. So it's fun
Amazon's best property or best show they've ever had in regards to popularity.
Right, which I think is funny because
True.
apparently people say that the comics are really bad. So the fact that they were able to make such a good show is
Sure.
surprising.
Well, I was thinking about this too the other day. Just the fact that we've been talking about the actress that plays Victoria Neumann and like Hughie and Starlight. Just everybody in that show is so good. Like, there's no one that's like bad in that show in regards to just pure like acting talent. They're all just like incredible. So, and
Even the side characters that make one episode.
Right. And then just hands down, like, just they nailed the casting because everything is like, they're all just so good and they vibe off each other well, and it's believable. So
yeah, and the creators of the show kind of approach everything the way a lot of younger fans, and honestly most older fans, just younger fans, are louder about it, the way they want them to create the show, which is like with Victoria Neumann, there's a episode where she gets sent a picture and that's the actual live reaction to her. They wanted to make sure it was like,
if you watch that, you see her mouth like twitch because she doesn't know whether to like smile, but she holds it together. It's hilarious. And even Eric Kripke was like, this is a genuine reaction from her.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time she saw it. So it's like, that's awesome that they were like, oh, this next one we're just going to send you a picture. Just need you to react to it.
And a lot of people's like a lot of big scenes in movies and big lines in movies or shows, that is the direction the creators went. Like the first time Heath Ledger's Joker was revealed, that was the first time most people had seen it. Or like Jeffrey Dean Morgan in Walking Dead didn't meet the cast until he walked out of the trailer and killed everyone. Like, getting those genuine reactions is so big. Probably makes it easier on the actors, to be honest.
Right. Jeffrey Dean Morgan was actually like once again praised those Walking Dead characters, which you've had Andrea from The Walking Dead. She was Crimson Countess in last season. So just another talent that they got. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan was like, when he did that Walking Dead thing, he's like, I stepped out of that trailer and I didn't know what to expect. And I had 13 people that I genuinely believed were absolutely terrified of me.
Yeah, that's what you want.
So crazy. Speaking of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, good to see his face in this.
I don't know what the big deal is with people. I think the big thing is he's charming and like a good actor.
Right.
But I see people are like screaming to have him be like as a spin-off already. We did not see anything from these first 3 episodes where in my eyes, where you go, this character needs a spin-off.
Right. Yeah, you don't know what him and Butcher did back in the day.
I'm all for it, but what's the point? Like, what did we see besides the fact that JDM is amazing?
Right. Right. And I think it has that CIA connection. So it's kind of like and him and Butcher worked in the past. So
a prequel series then?
Maybe a prequel series. I mean, I'd also see like, you may like, just knowing what I know about the Boys comics, Kessler could be a
Walker,
yeah.
Walker Kessler?
Bus. No, I think that his character could like fill a void of a character, I guess, like, without like spoiling it.
Sure.
Like, he could fill a role of someone that,
and I'm fine if you do want to spoil. I think if people watch this episode, it's going to kind of be a like they're watching it in preparation for episode 4, whatever. So I think it's okay if we.
What's the one saying where it's like, you try so hard to be the hero, or you're long enough to become the villain, something like that.
Right. You either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain.
Right, and that's kind of what Butcher's arc is in the comics. So
And he's
Kessler
kind of
could
doing
be
the
that.
opposite, it feels like, in
Right.
this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, like show adaptations should change from the source material, or else
Yeah.
it's like too predictable. And if that's, but there's aspects of that, like you definitely could see Butcher become a villain, I guess, just with how the temp V and how that differentiates between everything. So um, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for JDM. He's my favorite actor, so
Do you
more of that would be
think
great.
so if people that saw the last season know, like, Butcher's got a shortened lifespan, he's got 6 months less, maybe a year. The show
Sure.
now makes it seem like less. And do you think they're going to find a way out and save him, or do you think he's dead because next season is the last one?
Right. I mean, I guess I would like to see it for the sake of them kind of concluding the Homelander storyline, but also showing the range that Carl Urban and all of those other actors and actresses, like all the boys actors, could, like, how they would react to that and having to like try to now stop someone that's been so close to them before. I think I'd like to see it because I'd also like to just see it come to a conclusion
Sure.
and not like leave it open. And it would also like potentially do that Joe Kessler storyline if that's what they want to do. So
Okay. And do you think since Huey stopped using it, do you think he's
I think
safe?
he's all right. I think they kind of made it seem like Huey did eventually just like stop, and then Butcher kept doing it more than what we saw, I
Sure.
guess. Um,
And so at one point, and just letting people know, I'm not going to hold back on spoilers right now. So spoiler alert: if you don't want to know what, like, little details, some things that may have happened,
I mean,
I
we're
went
probably gonna
into
take this
this.
the boys episode 1 through 3 review. So if they want to see what happened, then they
Yeah.
yeah,
I want to have it so it's something that if people watch, they kind of are like, okay, now I know what's coming for 4 and 5 and whatever. So
sure.
there's a point in where we like see, so Homelander at one point says he can see a black mass swirling around Butcher's brain,
Butcher's brain, right,
but then
right.
they have 2 close-ups where it looks like a worm is literally crawling around in his head.
In Butcher's head.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, probably yeah, maybe. I
they had
mean,
2 points where they, on the side of his head, like right by his eye, it almost looks like a vein, but it like crawls across his head, and then it looks like it climbs in, and that's
sure,
when his ex-wife shows up for the first
right,
time, and then it happens one more time later where you can see it's like there's something crawling underneath his skin,
right,
and that's where
sure.
I'm like, that might be the out that they're trying to plan for
Oh
saving
sure,
him, is like
sure.
this is actually something internal that is not, like, it's masquerading as an illness that's killing him when really there's like an actual bug or something
Okay,
inside of him.
sure, sure.
um I don't know if that's what they're going with, but I thought that was pretty interesting, and I thought, like, if there's a way out of saving, like a way of making Butcher not die, I feel like that's it.
Sure.
And I don't know if it would be something from a soup or if it's something from Vought or what it would be, but I think
Right.
that's what they're planning if they do plan on saving Butcher.
Right.
But they're kind of setting up and Huey to be co-leaders for
Right.
Butcher dying. So I don't know, but I just think that's a good way out.
And
Homelander
Kessler
killed more
too. I
people.
mean, there's a big like kind of not fight for power, but like Grace with the CIA and like Singer,
Yeah,
like Singer working with Grace and at the CIA, whereas Kessler's been this longtime CIA, and it's kind of like there's like this CIA kind of group, I guess, that's also like plus like the boys with Frenchie and Kimiko and
right.
Starlight and Hughie. And so, I mean, I don't know. I, I think, I think you're going to see some of these characters hopefully return in like Gen V, whereas like you can see, oh, what have they been up to, and kind of build what will happen after in like spin-off shows, or they want to continue with Gen V. They didn't give like a we're only doing 3 seasons of Gen V. It's like,
Yeah, so far in the first 3 episodes, there's only one reference to Gen V, which was
right,
her
Godolkin.
thanking Homelander for saving after the disaster at Godolkin.
Yeah.
But like other things like with Butcher is he decided not to sabotage Hughie and give up the files that he has on Neumann, and he also decides not to drug Ryan.
Right.
So he's starting to make the right choices, and they're either trying to make him look better for when they kill him, or build him up so that you're that much more satisfied when you find out he's gonna live.
Right.
But so far, he's starting to make the right decisions. He's been kicked out of the boys by MM. His direction is kind of going where you want his character to go, which is kind of nice.
Right. He's kind of like this lone, like, vigilante, kind of working side by side with the boys, but not with the boys, because like he's getting his own information, it seems like, ahead of time.
Yep.
And then it would probably lead him down to, well, I mean, obviously he's still he's helping them when he can, but just by showing up and being there. But yeah, it's gonna obviously like have him meet up with Kessler, who wants his help, and being like, okay, we have to do this my way now, or something like that. Which telling Butcher to do it not his way will never work.
Right. And the rest of the boys are kind of their arc is becoming a little bit more clear, except for, in my opinion, one of them is still pretty in the dark, or 2 of them.
Like Frenchie and Kimiko.
Yeah, which are 2 of my favorites.
Yeah.
But
Kimiko.
Like MM's clearly trying to become the leader. He's taking over his OCD. He no longer has his ex-wife kicked out the stepdad, who's now dead.
Right. Went up to bat for Homelander, and
yeah. And so his character kind of looks like it's moving towards redemption and potentially getting back with his ex-wife when this is all done.
Right. Yeah, I think all the characters are kind of going through they all have a big challenge in front of them.
Yep.
I think. And MM, it's being the leader and possibly like building that connection with his daughter again and ex-wife. Hughie, it's his mom and his dad's struggles. Annie, it's if she wants to be Starlight and be kind of this like head of the rebellion, not just like an image,
right? Or understanding that Starlight doesn't have to be what Starlight has been.
Right, it doesn't have to be the 7 Starlight. It can be your own standalone thing that people look up to, and that's what I think she's struggling with, because she connects the Vought old Starlight with herself.
So far, that storyline's been the one that's bored me the most.
Sure.
Is the direct, which like what they're doing with Starlight's character is just like, yeah, it's very important, but it's the one where as it's happening, I'm catching myself going like, all right, what's going on with the other characters? I'd like to see it. Similar with like, I know Hughie's mom's back in the picture, but Hughie, I'm kind of like, okay, Hughie's story is also kind of plain. As of now, it's not super exciting.
What also I've found to be very interesting is that Hughie did work with Neumann in like the Department of Superhuman Affairs or something like that
for
months, right? Yeah, like a year. And so like the fact that he threw acid on Neumann and Neumann could have just popped him at any point. She's got this she cares about him enough
to not to.
Right. She cares about him enough to not do that. I thought that whole scene like in the van was just hilarious too.
Right, yeah, the way that she went about it was just like she gets shot point blank in the head. You guys are getting worse at your job somehow. That made me laugh.
Right.
Through the acid that it was supposed to work, didn't work.
Like, what the I got to be on stage in 30 minutes.
It's interesting to me that Butcher knows about the virus being made at Godolkin.
Right. I mean, Grace does.
Right.
Grace did. So, I mean, would Grace share that? I don't know.
I don't think so, but he might be able to
but Kessler knew too. Like, Kessler knew as well. So,
right.
I mean, Kessler probably would have told him. Yeah, I think those, I don't know. It made you, the whole Annie January thing, it's making you not like her. Because, like, especially with, like, the firecracker stuff, it's making you not like her, so she's got like a different redemption arc, because her whole thing has been like you're pulling for her constantly. But now it's like, oh, she was a bitch when
She's
she
the
was
one good
13.
guy stuck in the
Like,
evil 7.
right, right. And now it's like, oh, she wasn't always a saint. So
Right, which she mentioned in the earlier seasons that the pageant life was like the worst thing in the world.
right,
And now we're finding out like it's worse because she also hates the way she was back then.
sure.
Um, I don't know. Her storyline's kind of boring to me,
You
but I
find out
hope it
that
picks up.
Neumann is a lot stronger than we all thought.
Yeah, she may be
Like,
invincible, MM said.
right, yeah. So like the acid didn't even touch her, and she took a bullet to the like point blank to the head, and she was just like, ow, like
Right.
it just briefly hurt her. So yeah, I don't know. It's
The
you're
acid
learning a
gets
lot
thrown
of
on her.
things.
What the hell? I have to
I
be on
know.
the stage.
Yeah, that was hilarious too, because he's like terrified too. He's like, oh god, what did I just do? And then she's just like, really, Huey? Like,
Yeah, that was a very good scene. But the ones I'm most interested in is like I want to find out Kimiko's tackling her past, which means
so it's
and they
Frenchie.
hinted that it might be what makes her able to talk, which I need her to talk. It's a
Yeah,
completely different type of show, but in a show like The Big Bang Theory, they had a character who could not talk when women were in the room because he had like a fear of it.
sure,
It was like 3 or 4 seasons.
sure.
And by the second season, halfway through the second season, you're like, okay, this dude needs to start talking.
Yeah,
And with Kimiko, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, they need to get her character to talk because, yes, it's a barrier that it's awesome to see how they get through it.
right.
But my God, they're at this
I
point, the
think it's
character should
also
talk.
it could be very like heartbreaking too, because if something happens to Frenchie and she says something, that's gonna be like, that's gonna be heavy.
Yeah.
For instance. So maybe they're saving it for that. That they just kind of just thought of that, but
I know that none of the boys are none of them really have plot armor, but man, if they kill Frenchie, that gonna be so hard. Luckily they aren't pushing it past season 5, so it's not one of those things like
right,
The
you're gonna
Walking
dwell
Dead
on
where
it
you
for a little
might
bit.
kill a character, or Game of Thrones where you might kill a character
Sure.
and some people stop watching.
Right,
I think even if you killed off Frenchie, people would be like, all right, I gotta watch the last one. But
right,
yeah,
sure,
I need Kimiko to start
sure,
talking.
yeah,
And Frenchie, it was cool to see his character change a little bit, but he's still kind of the same guy,
right.
like ex-drug addict that keeps
Well,
relapsing,
a lot of people are
struggling
like
with his past.
upset because like, oh, they made Frenchie gay, and it's like if you paid attention to any of his past, that's been in his past. It's
He's
like
been
it's not
complete. He's
just
open to either. He doesn't have a
right,
preference.
right,
Sex is sex
and
to him, especially when he's high.
right. So it just people are just upset for no reason, which is
I didn't see
whatever.
any of that, but that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
When he did it, my first question was actually, I was like, oh, I wonder if the actor is gay or if he's just doing a great job of selling it, because
Sure.
he definitely, like the kiss scene when he runs after Colin's
Right.
at like the protest, I
Colin.
100% believed. I was like, whoa. I didn't expect the kiss scene, but when he did it, I was like, whoa.
Sure.
Like, you sold me. Like, if you told me that he was gay or bi in
Sure.
real life, I'd be like, absolutely.
Right.
I want him to be with Kimiko, but Kimiko even said, I love you, but we can't be together.
Yeah, I think that's also like, I think she doesn't want anyone to get hurt that's close to her again, I think too. But
Right. I don't really, it's weird, but I don't know who that other girl was that they caught when she went to her old place where she was being held.
yeah, like sister, and it can't be like sister,
Can't be
but she
sister.
recognized
she only
her.
had one brother.
Yeah, the brother, right. So I mean, someone from her past. I don't know.
I mean, it could be girlfriend. It could be who was like her mother, who like treated like her as like her caregiver while she was
Sure.
stuck. I don't know. I'm interested to find out who that is, but those two, Frenchie and Kimiko, is the line I care about the most.
Right.
And then obviously all Sage.
Yeah, Sister Sage. Yeah.
Sister Sage is a really awesome addition because she's such a wild card.
Right, and she gave herself a lobotomy so she didn't have to care for a little bit.
Is that what that meant?
That's what that was, yeah. So she could disassociate from everything for a little bit and just like eat, like blooming onions and watch Transformers and bang the deep and just not have to be the smartest person in the world, because she does. It did state somewhere that she has like minor healing powers, so
So she
like
can give
that'll
herself a
eventually like
lobotomy and then her brain will repair and she's back to being
right.
smart again.
Yes, that's how they, I think, want you to understand that scene.
Which
So
means next, see episode 4, 5, or 6, the Deep is gonna have to tell the octopus.
yeah, who's voiced by Tilda Swinton, by
I
the
was
way.
wondering. I recognize the voice.
Yeah,
I
Tilda
love.
Swinton.
So
So
on Amazon Prime, you have the option to have like you can read certain things that pop up. I don't know if you've
sure,
seen that, like the
yeah,
captions. They tell
the
you,
X-ray. There's like an X-ray. I
yeah,
don't know if that's what they
and
call it. It's like an X-ray view or something like that.
because I have an older phone and it has to be in a certain angle to charge, there are some times where I'm watching it where I have to have it in like the small player view, which the
Okay.
X-ray, the things pop up underneath, like
Okay.
as like a live feed while you're watching.
Sure.
They tell you what song is playing. They tell you which characters are currently on screen and the actors portraying them. So I'm sure at that point I would have seen it said Tilda for the octopus if I had it up.
Sure. Right.
But at one point, when Splinter is on, they had a very funny X-ray quote, which was they said that this guy is like a Shakespeare actor award winner.
Okay.
He didn't have this in his contract. We just thought that this was a nice thing to do for him, and that came up during the scene where he's like eating himself out and
When he's human centipeding himself,
yeah,
basically.
and they
Yeah.
give himself a bunch of pink eye.
Right.
So gross, dude.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing we talked about this, where the makers of the show do such a good job of trolling, but they do a good job of just like making a good show. And one of those things is,
Well,
people see, oh,
they
nudity.
also
Well, it's mainly dicks.
yeah, they do a good job of taking just world events,
Yep.
like just world events in general, like eating ass. You know what I mean? And then like, how can we make this the boys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like how can Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass and then expanding? How can we make that the boys? And that's basically like the opener to season 3. So
Yeah, with the dick hole.
right. So they do a great job of that, and I think it's also funny, like the whole, like the subtle. Oh, there's a trial. He's being convicted, but it's okay. It's all miscommunication. Like
Sure. Yep.
that's it's
They even
funny how
mentioned
they
like
do
real life
things.
people where he
Right.
mentioned I should have ran with Buttigieg.
Right.
Man,
So
yeah,
it's just funny.
they do a really good
They
job.
do really good job of just throwing in subtle world events and world things.
It's
So.
like live action South Park, but doing a better job of it.
Right.
It feels it's very similar. It's
So
what SNL wishes they could do.
so we've talked a lot about like the boys and stuff and like kind of these other side characters. We haven't really talked about Homelander and Ryan. So what are your thoughts on those two?
Ryan, I feel like is definitely currently on side Butcher over side Homelander. I just think Homelander, he's another character who's scared of Homelander, who thinks like, if I were to leave, Homelander might do something to me, take me somewhere, kill somebody who I'm like. If I go to Butcher or say I want to be with Butcher, is he just going to kill Butcher?
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want him to die. I want him to be part of my life. And then Homelander's like, no, like it doesn't. He's a peasant. Like everything's a peasant or an ant or
Everything's a toy
cockroach.
for our amusement.
Yeah, right.
And like
they're cockroaches. That's all they are.
Ryan is yet another superhero that feels remorse, and they have a couple superheroes now that are showing like they actually feel remorse for what they do, and those are the ones that have the chance of being good.
Right.
Like A-Train and
yeah. I like A-Train.
Well, yeah. And
like
he's the actor Jesse is really good, and they just what they're doing with Ryan is making it seem like it feels like his character is supposed to be a coin flip. Is he going to be Homelander or is he going to be like a actual hero?
Sure.
But it doesn't feel like a coin flip. It feels more like they're rolling a a die, and if it lands on a 1, he's a bad guy, but anything else, he's a good guy.
Sure.
So the bigger thing is Homelander. I think Ryan right now doesn't feel like a question mark, especially with Butcher deciding not to drug him.
Right.
Ryan just feels much more straightforward. He misses his mom. He's still a good kid who is a lot like his mom, but because he's young, has made a couple bad decisions. And
Right.
yeah, but Homelander, on the other hand, you find out like he's the one thing he wants is to just still be. He wants people to love him for being him, but he doesn't want to have to change who he is,
Right.
which is an
And he
evil sociopath.
he realizes now that everyone is just kind of sucking up to him because he's him, not just because he's necessarily like liked or loved. It's just because they're afraid of him
Right.
or
He's learning that it's better to be loved than to be feared. It's better to be respected. And he's
right.
learning what happens when you do get everything you want. You do become that leader who's feared. The one thing you have to be okay with is being lonely.
Right.
And he's clearly not, but the fact that this is my little theory. We can't just
He's
be
smart enough to go to Sister Sage because Sister Sage will straight up tell him what it is, how it is.
right.
And no one else will tell him how it is. They're just like, "Oh yeah, good idea. Yeah,
I think
okay, let's do that."
Firecracker is a hilarious caricature of a lot of the United States. It's very funny.
Right. Sure, yeah.
And what
Like
they've
the
done with
whole
her.
yeah, like the influencers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I
And the
think that
fact,
is.
like, she's just everything is a conspiracy theory that leads
Yep.
to it's just
Yeah.
funny to me. But Homelander himself, it's so I don't. This is the one thing I feel like no. If you want to like watch another show that does breakdowns of the boys, or whatever, this is one thing I don't think other people are talking about. So
Sure.
the reason I think they're focusing on Butcher and that little like worm that's crawling around, and the fact that he's like seeing and hearing voices.
Right.
Homelander sees multiple versions of himself and hears voices as well.
Sure.
And it makes me question if maybe Homelander is not either dying from the same thing or they're both infected by the same thing,
Oh, sure.
which is causing them to be paranoid and potentially see things and hear things.
Right.
Or, maybe he does just have a personality disorder, but my theory is that they're trying to hint that Homelander and Butcher are even more similar than we think because they've
Right.
pointed out their similarities so many times.
Right.
I think they each have something going on inside their brain, and it's the same thing, most likely given to them by either another soup, somebody at
Sure.
Vought, or somebody they're both connected with, like spending time around Ryan. Maybe that, I don't know, maybe it's the wife
Right.
that, like,
Okay.
maybe. That's my thought, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me, the direction, like Homelander's split personalities and voices doesn't make sense to me unless there's something like that going on.
Sure.
What about you?
I guess I don't really because I didn't like pay attention. I guess that much when Butcher was like, like or whatever, and like see those things. But it makes me believe that, like, well, first off, it seemed like Homelander was, well, first off, always been crazy, but
Yeah.
almost went going crazy earlier. But there could be a thing that connects them more than just how similar they are, even though they fail to admit it. But yeah, I don't know. I think obviously Sage is up to something.
Yeah.
Sister Sage is up to something, so I'm curious to see how that goes. But she knew
either double agent or her own vendetta,
right? And she knew that Butcher and and all of them were gonna be like, she obviously is the smartest person, so like she's connected to them like a little bit, I guess.
right?
So I don't know. She knows she's playing both sides of the field, I guess.
Right, and now they're trying to recruit A-Train to the boys, be
Right.
a guy on the inside, which A-Train's connected to Sage as well.
Right, because they were on some young team together, I think is how she said, and then Sister Sage got kicked off.
Yeah, they were on like Team Kicks.
Yeah.
Something like that. Which
wow.
I tried to take a screenshot to look at the names of like all the potential other characters in the 7 and when the scene came up, but it's one of those things you try to take a screenshot, it comes off black.
Right.
But that there was a couple other people on that list that were affiliated
There's
with that.
there's like
Team
a
Kicks.
Marathon Man, which is the one that A Train replaced, but he's in a lot of like propaganda for the 7 and stuff. But it's like Marathon Man, but that's who A Train replaced. So
I think it would be interesting to see the Deep like have the octopus kind of like lose her mind and
sure,
like attack him.
Right.
I just think I think that would be a fun little twist. I think it's kind of expected, but it would be fun to see.
Sure.
But we haven't.
I mean, I think this show could go in so many different ways. Like, you could almost do like if you continue with Gen V, maybe because at the end of the boys, like the 7 no longer exists, and then all of a sudden Vought's reborn, and now it's actually like a good 7, and then I don't know. There's so many possibilities with like the cast of Gen V, like the good. I feel like there's always never going to be a good team, but what if there's a good team? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Thinking out loud. But yeah, I mean, I think Homelander and his direction is becoming less clear as we move on, while a lot of the others becoming more clear.
I think first off, just from meeting Antony Starr personally and us being like best friends and stuff, it's no, I think just
see, people are going to think you're joking, but you have met him in person.
I have, yeah, I have a signed Homelander poster somewhere here. It says "Love Joe" or "Love Antony Starr," but it's fine. Anyway, no, I just want to commend him on doing such a great job. I think nobody really carries this show in regards from an acting standpoint, but like he carries his performance like insanely well. Just even like the fact that he doesn't know how to be a dad, and he's doing that so well. Like he doesn't know how to react to Ryan. He's just kind of like trying, and it's going horribly wrong.
Right. It's like a uncle who never had kids gets custody of his brother or sister's kid.
Right.
And then now is thrust into it. It's exactly how you would expect. Like the kid starts crying, you're like, "Oh, hey, what's going on, champ?
Here's some milkshake.
Here, I'm gonna buy you happy-ness. This should fix everything."
Just that and his little like his serious moment when Hughie sweats on him, like that seriousness, like that was insane. His when he does the like split personalities talking to him in the mirror, that's insane.
I like the facial expressions when he's talking to Ryan. There's a couple points where he does like a smile. I mean, there's also a point where he's talking to Sage. You notice the same thing. He has certain ticks he does with his mouth and his eyes that seem very purposeful because they give off discomfort or insanity or anger. Which is like he's portraying in his face the emotion. You could be deaf and know exactly what he's feeling.
Sure.
So I think he does a really good job of that, which, again, nobody carries the show. It's the fact that nobody's bad.
Right.
I know who I would say is my least favorite in terms of when they're on the screen. I think they're the worst, but I don't necessarily think they're bad.
Right.
Overall, the first 3 episodes were super good, and I think are building a really good storyline. Do you know, is it going to be 6 or is it going to be 8 episodes or 9?
I think it's 8. I think it's 8.
It's 8? Okay.
Right.
So it's going to be 3.
Well, I would like it to be 9 because I think that 3 episode release is really cool. But
yeah. But instead it'll probably be 3-3-2.
Yeah, something like that. But maybe just 1 a week from now on too.
That would be nice.
Yeah. I
don't need to have a whole show all in one.
Right.
I also don't need it to be one at a time. I'm fine with 1 to 3 at a time, but I would prefer honestly 1 at a time.
Yeah, I like a 2 episode release, in my opinion, because like you've been waiting this whole time for a show, and to just get like 1 episode, it's like, oh, it's already over. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I prefer like a 2 episode release, and then just singular episodes from then on.
Sure.
That's my like preferred. Um, and I also like right around like 10 episodes. Like I think 8 is like what kind of everyone's going with now. Like there's a lot of Disney Plus shows that are 8. House of Dragon, Amazon or not Amazon, Fallout, like all these Acolyte, like all these things are like 8 episodes, and it's like give us a little bit more. I mean,
Sure.
like Walking Dead, a pilot season was 6 episodes, and then everything else was like 2 8.5 seasons, I guess. So I don't know.
So I've heard a lot of people have similar opinions as that, like give us more episodes because other shows used to give us 25 episodes a season. But a lot of
Sure.
those, that was when like it was on TV,
Right.
and with
That's what I'm saying. Walking Dead
commercials-
was two 8 episode seasons or 2 half seasons.
right.
So,
And if it's a half-hour show, it was usually like 21 to 22 minutes of a show, and if it was a
Right.
full hour, it'd be like 43-minute shows.
right.
And without commercials, each of these episodes was over an hour.
Right.
So it's like if you said this was like a half-hour show, that would have been the equivalent of them giving you basically they gave us 9 episodes already if it was just a half-hour show.
Right.
So it's
No, I get it. I mean, I get that. I mean, these ones were all like an hour long, right? Like 56, 59. You know what I mean? Like from a length standpoint, we got what we paid for, even though it's free.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. I mean, like we were with Disney Plus, we were getting like 8 40-minute episodes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like at best, sometimes they're even like mid 30s.
like Kenobi.
Right. So, and that was 6 seasons. That was 6 episodes
Yep.
for that season. So, you know what I mean? I guess that's what I'm saying is
Sure.
like give us 8 hours of a show. Like,
So-
not
We'll talk about Arcane next, but first thing, predictions. What do you think? Give
For
me
this
one
season,
to do predictions of the boys season.
I don't think Homelander will die.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Ever or just this season?
No, this season. I don't think it will. It
Sure.
will happen. This season.
That's fair.
I could see it happen, but I guess my other prediction is, well, not prediction, but my big question mark is like we've had a couple references to Godolkin and the virus and stuff, but how does the Gen V rope into this more? And then how will the end of this season rope back into Gen V season 2?
Sure.
So that's my question. That's my prediction. Is I'm going to go with Homelander does not die this season because he hasn't really they haven't done anything to hint at him dying. Like he's in perfectly good health in regards to his craziness, but he's always crazy.
Besides
you know what I mean?
the gray hairs he's collecting, he's
He's got
obsessed
some
with
puke,
getting old.
But who doesn't at this point? You know what I mean? So
I mean, my prediction would be that Neumann is going to become even more of a focus because I think where they tie in Gen V is going to be Neumann since she has the same power
Marie,
as
that's her name. Marie, yeah. So do you think Singer's gonna get toasted?
I think Neumann is president by the end of this season. I think Neumann. So I think that's politically, Neumann becomes president. I think Homelander is going to get what he wants in that case, where people are going to think Neumann and Homelander are on the same side, like the general public. I think Neumann is going to have an ability, a power over Homelander, because I think they're either going to tie in Gen V with, they're going to be, at least one of them will be the guinea pig for the virus that Neumann is planning on having in her pocket.
That's what I think. I think it's going to end up being her daughter.
Yeah, I think her daughter's going to die from the virus.
And she's going to go into season 5 being the president and pissed off.
Yep, that would be my big prediction.
That is terrifying. So
Yep, I think Gen V gets tied in with Neumann, who becomes president, and the virus is taken her daughter because they were trying to use it on Marie, and Marie
or her.
manipulates her blood and like uses it on her daughter or something. I think
Sure.
it's something along those lines. But yeah, for those who are stopping at this point of the video, let us know your predictions. Otherwise, stick around. We're going to talk about some Arcane. But yeah, let us know what you think of the boys' first few episodes. Let us know what you think is going to happen next. Is there a side that you're on? Are you a Homelander or a Starlighter? I don't know why the hell you'd be a Homelander, but okay.
My favorite thing is tweeting like I'm in the boys universe and I'm part of the home free.
Yeah,
I think that's like it's just.
I think that's hysterical.
I think it's brilliant, man. Like Vought is just it's just great.
Tweeting out like they have sponsorships with people, and
yeah, it's funny. Come see Vought on Ice. There was a small electrical fire where we lost a couple people, and it's like, oh, okay, because that's not what I saw.
No, I didn't. I think I saw Homelander fry somebody, and then when everybody panicked, the lead guy the guy playing Jesus killed multiple people. Oh God.
It's brilliant how they do that. Though.
It's amazing.
The media teams can make something out
just
of
like sports teams,
right?
If they run a good profile, those sports teams just like the Chargers have it down. But yeah, let us know, and also remember, like, comment, subscribe, and kiss me. You got anything, Dad?
Nothing, Dad.
All right, you all look great today. GG.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Have no regrets, yeah, I'm tired of my